Hi, everyone. My name is Cameron Clarke, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Sunderstorm, and you are listening to Professionally Cannabis.
Where do they go, the smoke rings I blow each night? Oh,
I'm
what
really
do
happy to say
they
that
do,
joining the pod
those
today is
circles
Cameron
around
Clarke, CEO of Sunderstorm, a leading California-based CPG brand specializing in high-dose experiences for consumers. Within our conversation, we'll look at how brands are able to integrate nanotechnology within their product formulation process and how Sunderstorm are able to effectively tap into those consumers looking for products that really pack a punch. We cannot wait to kick off our chat, so let's dive straight in. Cameron, welcome to the Professionally Cannabis podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be here.
So as we ask all our guests, what led you to the plant?
The short answer to the question is, just a great interest in plant medicines over the last couple of decades. And I wanted to be part of this industry where we were literally changing our culture to understand the value of these plant medicines and how they can heal us individually, but also how they can heal our communities. So it's interesting. I mean, as I was going through my personal journey and my personal experience with the plant medicines and learning a lot about my own consciousness and the philosophy of consciousness, I wanted to figure out a way where I could share what I was learning and use it to benefit humanity, right? But I wasn't quite sure the way to get there, right? So as I was going through time, I kept trying to figure out what is the right path for me. So I also have a great personal interest in science and engineering as well. So I wanted to try to figure out a way to combine my interest and passion for science with my interest and passion for natural plant medicines and shamanism and all that. So I would say that what happened was that suddenly cannabis just kind of popped into at my doorstep one day when I was living in San Diego and running a community biotech lab, teaching others about molecular biology and doing some experiments with algae, because I'm very passionate about algae as a plant as well, for all the compounds that algae produces. And I just suddenly realized that, wow, this is actually where I should be focusing my effort, because cannabis is the perfect place to start for me to be able to leverage my life experience. In some ways, it's kind of a natural progression of what I've been doing in my life. And in other ways, it just suddenly popped into my doorstep. It's not like I haven't known about cannabis my whole life.
Was the biolab, it doesn't sound very commercial. So I think one of the impressive things about your business, of course, is that it's a very popular consumer product. But presumably you weren't making a consumer product with algae in a microbiology lab in San Diego. So how did you make the switch?
Yeah. So, I've been a serial entrepreneur in my life. I've had different types of businesses. I was one of the original importers of the Acai Berry from Brazil back in 2004. And so I had a small CPG company where we were selling it to Whole Foods and to many other retailers. So I already had an understanding about how to, commercialize, edible type products, food type products. In our experience, I mean, raising money in the cannabis industry has been challenging for us throughout our history. I think that it's kind of hit or miss at times. Some companies have been able to very quickly raise a lot of money, without much basis for that. But we always wanted to build our business very organically, and we were also very frugal in how we spent our money. We self-funded the business from the very beginning, my partner Keith Sitch and I, and then very quickly we raised a small round of friends and family money to be able to get us started to buy our extraction machine and get us started in the industry. But it wasn't really a ton of money, so we were very careful in how we spent that money. We bought a lot of used equipment. We didn't spend too much money on marketing. And we learned to build the business, basically reinvesting all of the money that we were making, plowing it back into the business to continue to grow it. And it wasn't really until we raised our Series A round in 2018, the end of 2018, that we really were able to propel into one of the primary cannabis brands in California. We leveraged a significant portion of that round into our marketing efforts that allowed us to tell our story and connect with our consumers. And an important part of that story was our transparency, reliability, and consistency. We came into this industry wanting to be that company that could allow consumers to rely on these products day in and day out, to know that they could eat a gummy or take one of our tinctures today and have the exact same experience that they had 6 months ago. So we've used science and testing and very rigorous production processes to ensure that our products were absolutely consistent. And so that story was something that we were able to begin to tell to the consumers back in early 2019. And to be honest, that is what has propelled us to where we are today. A lot of hard work from an amazing team.
And you mentioned about the importance of conveying a sort of clear message to consumers. Now, a question I would love to ask you, sort of building on what we were talking about before, is how does that message differ when you're looking to tap into sort of more significant investors? So you've done your family and friends raise, and then in 2018 you've gone for your big sort of Series A raise. What does the messaging look like when you are tapping into sort of that new range of investors? Because you must have done a great job with your pitches. I've seen you have significant and prominent investors like Entourage, Effect Capital were involved with the business. I'd love to understand a little bit more about the process of those latter raises.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. In the beginning, Keith and I really relied on our experience, in building businesses and running businesses, to be able to generate the interest from investors, to give them faith that we could execute well in this industry. As everyone knows, this is an incredibly challenging industry. Running a cannabis business is really like running 5 different companies, because there's so many different aspects of it, with regulations and operating as completely separate businesses in different states, which we're now embarking on. I think in the beginning, Keith and I always laughed, right? We were friends from Stanford from 30 years ago. So we always laugh that our Stanford pedigrees have meant a lot more in the cannabis industry than they have in other times in our lives. So I think that helped us really differentiate ourselves from other companies in the industry. We had a lot of solid business experience, and that gave our early investors faith that we could accomplish what we needed to accomplish. But then, in addition to that, once we built the business, we were able to demonstrate a track record of knowing how to run a company, right? So while at that stage we were still not yet profitable, we could demonstrate that we could indeed accomplish our goals, right? So one of our investors, Altitude, when they put money into out of New York, when they put money into our Series A, I love to tell this story because we had known them for a year. And I asked them, I said, what took you so long to invest? And they said, we wanted to see how you actually operated. And the great thing is that you guys did everything you said you were going to do. And I think that's really a testament to the way we run our business, and that we are frugal and careful with how we spend money. And we're also very careful with our projections. We've been able to hit our projections every single year, almost on the money in every year. So I think that's what investors are now investing in. We're raising money now for our Series B, and that's what they're looking at. Not only are we profitable, but we also are very clear and transparent with how we run our business and where we believe that we can be, 12 months, 24 months down the road. And I think investors love to see companies that are able to accurately project their future. And that's something that I think that many companies in this industry have not been so successful at. So I think that's the difference. Initially, I think people were investing in Keith and I, and then, since then it's really been, how we run our business, which we believe is quite a bit different than most companies in the industry.
I certainly think that's an understated way to talk about perhaps the difference between forecasts and actualities in this industry. So let's perhaps talk about one of the ways in which you made those forecasts come true, and which you mentioned earlier, and which your company does particularly well. Of course, the marketing. So, and maybe you want to talk about product here as well. But what do you guys do that allows you to get marketing cut through in a market that is crowded, regulated, and pretty hard to be a consistent player in a lot of ways?
I think that when we look at how we built our company, we built our company on, as a starting point, making great products that are consistent and reliable. That's why we won the award 2 years ago for the most accurately formulated edible in the industry, right? Because we were always very clear that we wanted to have products that consumers would not have to be afraid of. We had to overcome not just the stigma, but also the fear. Everyone has an edible story. We know that, when we tested everything in the beginning, our products, everybody else's products, the labels were mislabeled almost 100% of the time. We wanted to be the company that consumers could rely on. We wanted to build that base of that relationship and trust with the consumer from day one, right? And so our marketing really is an outgrowth of that, right? It's really taking our message of transparency and reliability and consistency and caring about community and being able to deliver that message to the consumer. It's interesting. The name of the company is Sunderstorm. A sunderstorm is a thunderstorm where the sun shines through the rain clouds. And that's really kind of an image of what we wanted to create in this industry. We wanted to be that company that helped evolve the industry from being a dark and hidden industry to being something that's bright and trustworthy for all types of consumers. And so our marketing efforts, we invested marketing dollars as much as we possibly could throughout the history of this company in ways that would convey that message to our consumers. And one thing, for example, every once in a while you have something that goes wrong, a challenge with something that's a vape cartridge that doesn't work properly or what have you. And we always tell everybody, you can return it anytime. We're happy to give your money back. We want to make sure that you get the consumer gets the products that they require without any questions asked. So, for us, we've invested these marketing dollars in ways that convey that message. Obviously, we use a lot of social media to do that, but we also want to be that fun and playful company that shows the social aspect of cannabis, to be able to optimize the consumer's wellness. We tell everybody we want our brand and our products to lead consumers to a life of optimal wellness, right? And that includes socializing in the recreational world, and it includes improving medical conditions for those that have medical issues. So again, the marketing aspect is really just about consistently delivering that message so that consumers understand that they can come back to us with their needs.
And how much of that messaging around consistency, reliability is built upon your use of nanotechnology? And I'm sure we'll get on to the sort of benefits and pitfalls of nano a little bit later on in the conversation. But one of the things that sort of I understand about products that are formulated with nano is that you're perhaps able to produce products with a higher degree of certainty of the bioavailability comparing with the amount of cannabis that's in the product.
So one of the challenges with any medicine, and certainly with psychoactive plant medicines, is that it's very difficult, and certainly this has been a huge issue in the edibles world. It's very difficult for consumers to be able to properly dose when they may not feel the psychoactive effects for 45 minutes or an hour, right? And so one of the things that I wanted to do from the very beginning, which is why, by the way, we were the very first company in the industry to offer a nanotechnology product back in 2015, was that we wanted to be able to compress the time that the consumer, from the moment the consumer took the product to the moment that they actually start feeling the effects, because you need that feedback mechanism in order to properly dose. And what we saw was there were just numerous cases where consumers were having to wait 45 minutes or an hour, and then they would take another dose, and then they would overdose, and there was also inconsistency in potency. So you really didn't know what you were putting into your system. So for us, number one, we wanted to make the products absolutely consistent so they could rely on it, just like they could rely on drinking a glass of wine, but also use nanotechnology as a way to increase the bioavailability and the onset time so that they could feel the experience more rapidly, right? So it could help them with their conditions more quickly, right? Ease their pain, what have you. But in addition, they would know that experience sooner, and it would mitigate the risk of overdosing. And I think we've done a great job of that, and we have absolutely been the company in this industry nationwide that's been leading the charge on this. And a lot of that has to do with my science background and my interest in this. We just felt from the beginning that the only way to become a successful edibles company with our Canna products was to allow consumers to have that faster experience, and the nanotechnology is a way to do that. And you do hear things like high bioavailability. You hear things like it gets into your system faster. It gets more of the cannabinoids into your bloodstream. But what does that really mean? That really means that you have a more reliable experience that happens quickly, right? And so you don't need to wait. It mitigates the overdosing and helps the consumer get to the experience that is very similar to smoking without actually having to inhale cannabis.
And so talking about that development path then, what's next on your product roadmap?
We love these technologies. We think they work very well. We want to continue to improve the onset time so that we continue to compress that time. And I think that's something that we are always driving towards in our business. We're also experimenting with new formats, right? That can compress that time, right? Everybody loves their gummies. We love the gummies, but I think we're going to be offering some new formats for products with the nanotechnology in the coming year or so that I think will have even faster onset and be potentially easier for consumers to consume.
And how much trickier is it when you are developing cannabis products using nanotechnologies to make sure, especially when you're looking at edibles, to make sure that the look, the feel, that the taste in particular is there in the way that consumers would desire? It has been spoken about before that sort of nano-emulsified edibles have been known to taste a little bit worse than infused products. Sometimes people talk about sort of the bitterness in the taste of products. How do you guys get around this?
That's been one of our single biggest challenges, to be honest, in our product development cycle. It took us over a year of development to nail our Canna Nano gummies to ensure that they not only work fantastically, but also that they taste great. And I think nanotechnology is terrific in its ability to allow for high bioavailability, that rapid onset. But there's also downsides, and one of them definitely is that the nanotechnologies tend to enhance the bitterness that are present in cannabis compounds. So we worked on that for a year to develop those products, and we continue to work on it and improve it every single day. So I think that's been one of the big discriminators for us, is that we've tested as many nanotechnologies as we possibly can to understand not only their efficacy and how they work, but what their history is and how we manage the consumer experience to ensure that it's as positive as possible, right? And so both of the nanotechnologies that we utilize in our products today have been around for decades and are being sold throughout the world, right? And so for us, we wanted to use nanotechnologies that were proven, were safe, were well tested, and in cases where there was scientific studies done, that is valuable, as in the case of our Canna Nano gummies, so that consumers wouldn't have to be concerned about what they were putting into their bodies.
And keeping on the theme, how do you guys navigate the regulatory space, and how does that impact upon plans for international expansion?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that this is something for us to face in the future. We have a licensing deal with Aqualitis in Canada, where we are delivering Canna products into Canada now. That's been our first foray into the international market. To be honest, we've been laser focused on the California market, for the first 4.5 years, and really only in the last 12 months have we begun to focus on our expansion strategy. A little bit into Canada, obviously, which I just mentioned, and then also what we call our MSO strategy, which is opening up in new states. So that's been our primary focus to date. We do watch the international markets, but at the moment we're really paying attention a little bit closer to home.
Are you in any other states other than California, or did you expand to Canada first? And if so, why is that?
We did expand to Canada first. We had an opportunity there with Aqualitas that we thought was great. And we were able to, they have a wonderful team up there, and they were able to get us launched quickly. But the very exciting thing for us is that we are opening as we speak in Colorado and Massachusetts. We have our own facility in Colorado. We have a great partner, PV Extracts, in Massachusetts. Our team is quite busy making gummies in all these new states. So I think that's going to be, we're finally going to be able to start answering the question to consumers who email us daily about whether or not they can get our products in these other states. So this is an exciting moment for us to be able to really become a national edibles brand.
Well, I think we're running towards the end of our time with you. But there's a question that I ask a lot of people who are known for making edibles, and I think this one's actually going to sit very well with you, considering our conversation before we began recording, which I'll let our listeners know involved your breakfast and your health interests. And this is something that's come up with me at home, which is that for medical users looking for something that has the convenience of the gummy, there's some interest in things that feel less like a sweet or a piece of candy, and something more like a medicine. Do you have any drive or desire to move into that more medicalized market?
It's very funny that you mentioned that. Indeed, actually, I think that there is going to be a greater and greater interest in using cannabis as a medical product, right? I mean, obviously there are many people throughout the country and throughout the world that use cannabis for its medicinal aspects. But I think, in some ways we're still kind of scratching the surface on how to deliver the medical benefits of the cannabis plant. A lot of it has to do with the dearth of scientific research that has been done on the plant. I think that's starting to get done now. So we will learn a lot over the years of the value of the various cannabinoids and how they can improve people's lives. For example, we deliver CBN into 2 of our products. So we have 2 tranquility products. One is as an oral spray, and the other as a gummy that work fantastically well, and we get tremendous feedback on these products. In fact, our Tranquility gummy is now our #1 selling product for the entire company. I alluded earlier to some new formats that we're experimenting with and will be delivering in the coming years, and that is one of the directions that we're absolutely going, because we know that consumers need convenience. We know that they need fast onset to deal with medical issues. And and we know that the plant is very powerful to be able to handle these medical issues.
I think that's a wonderful note to end it on. Cameron, thank you so very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Please take me above, take me with you.